Welcome to today's Natural Health Show. Are you somebody who enjoys eating fast food? You know, the average American now eats 3 fast food meals a week. That's average. Can you believe that? Well, if you're one of those people, then stay tuned for the information that's coming for you. And that is 9 unexpected side effects of eating fast food. Stay tuned. We're going to hit each one of those, and you're going to be surprised right after this. Welcome back. I'm Labron, traditional naturopath, whole food expert, certified hypnotist. Here at the Natural Health Clinic, we have 2 locations serving you, one in the Houston area, Missouri City, and one in Victoria, Texas. So 9 unexpected side effects of eating fast food. Well, what are the expected ones? Well, perhaps you get fat, all right? Everyone knows that the fast food is probably not the best food in the world. But what is the first unexpected side effect? Well, how about if that meat you think you're eating isn't really meat at all? What if it's a fabricated? What if it's a man-made? What if it's a manufactured form of meat? Would you be okay with that? Well, do you remember some years ago, there was something that was called a pink glue or a meat glue? What this was is a type of glue that they used to put different pieces and types of meat together to make it look like something, like a ribeye steak or even hamburger patties. So it's quite possible that the meat you're consuming isn't even really meat, not to mention that the real meat, I should say, not to mention that the effects of the chemicals, that meat glue, that pink glue that they're using, has untold havoc and wreaks damage to your body. So that's just one of the many ways that there can be issues with eating fast food. What about, speaking of those meats, what about drugs that are found in those meats? Have you ever seen chicken farms, commercial chicken farms? They're in these teeny tiny little cages. They cannot move, they can't get up, they poop where they eat, literally, and they are so pumped full of different kinds of pharmaceuticals, antibiotics, steroids to deal with the inflammation, and different sicknesses that are caused in the cramped, really dirty, even disgusting types of environments. And we eat those eggs, we eat those chickens. Can you just imagine not only the amount of pharmaceuticals that you're getting from that type of meat, but also the toxicity in general? Imagine that. We've only covered 2 things. Can you believe eating fast food does that? Just wait, there's more in store for you. Number 3, do you like eating fries? You know, I have to be honest, I enjoy fries. Deep fried, crispy fries, oh my God, they taste fantastic, don't they? Pour a bunch of salt on them, and it really is almost like a dessert. They're really fantastic. Well, the problem is that the fries you're eating in fast food restaurants, you might as well just call them cancer fries, like you can call cigarettes cancer sticks, because they're exactly the same thing. When you have these unsaturated fats and these that's used in these deep fried fries, those superheated unsaturated fats begin caramelizing. They begin oxidizing. They become oxidized fats. And those oxidized fats, and we're going to be talking about this just a little bit later, go on to create all types of inflammatory conditions in different areas of the body. As well as when you get these carbohydrates from the fries and the superheated oils, that creates what is called an AGE, which is an advanced glycating end product. And what does it do? It ages you. Get it? Advanced glycating end product, age. So these AGEs do exactly that. That creates super oxidation within your body. Oxidation is destruction of your cells. It's your body breaking down. It is your organs degenerating and breaking apart. That is exactly what these superheated oils plus these carbohydrates, put them together, and you get this caramelized effect, and it creates this byproduct, the AGEs, which is destructive, totally destructive for your body. That's all they do. Well, if that's not enough, we have 7 more side effects of fast food. Poisonous packaging. Well, if you've seen any of our previous episodes, we've talked about this before, like the lining in pizza boxes. But you think about these cartons, styrofoam cartons that many times these fast food foods, if you want to call them that, come to you in. Or these cardboard-like boxes, but they are really lined with different forms of plastics and different chemicals that are extremely damaging. So not only are you getting the effects from the foods that we talked about, but you're coupling that. It's aggravating the situation because you're getting these toxic chemicals from the packaging also within these food products. And notice that I call it food products because these are really not foods. They are a product just like your television or your car or your shoes are a manufactured product. That's exactly what these are as well. But it doesn't end there. What about the sweeteners? The sweeteners that are put in these different kinds of sodas that you oftentimes get with your fast food meal, or even smoothies, which we'll talk about in just a second. Well, did you know that in one soda there is 8 to 12 tablespoons of sugar? 8 to 12 tablespoons of sugar. What a tremendous amount of sugar that your body is getting at one time. And that's just in per 12 ounces. So what if you're getting a 20 ounce or a 30 ounce or even more than that of the soda? You're getting, it's a staggering amount of sugar into your body. But the problem is that this isn't even really sugar. That sweetener is processed as well. And it's high fructose corn syrup typically. High fructose corn syrup is known to be intensively damaging to the liver. Intensively damaging to the liver. Not to mention that it is loaded with very high levels of lead and mercury. Just do a Google search, lead mercury in corn syrup. You'll be amazed at how many news articles that you'll find talking about just that fact. So these artificial sweeteners, if you will, and we haven't even really gotten into the actual artificial sweeteners like aspartame yet, but you know, if you manufacture a product and it's high fructose corn syrup, well, you know, I will challenge you, no matter how hard you squeeze a corn kernel, you're probably not going to get syrup out of it. So you have to know that this product is created through a manufacturing process. That's artificial. It's not really a real substance like maple syrup. You know, that is a syrup that comes out of a tree. Totally different. Still may not be good for you, but totally different. At least it's not artificial. So these things just wreak all kinds of havoc within the body. I already mentioned the liver, but corn syrup in particular can also affect the brain. They've found that it can, in effect, eat holes within the brain, certain areas of the brain, especially in children. And who really gets the highest levels of things like corn syrup? It's the children. It's in their cereal, it's in their juices, it's in their sodas, it's in their candies, cookies, cakes, and ice cream that everybody's giving them because, oh my God, they're children, you want to deprive them. Oh, really? Well, you're depriving them of their brain, you're depriving them of their good liver function, but you don't want to deprive them of the supposed happiness of eating something incredibly disgustingly sweet. That makes sense. But so is the culture that we currently live in. Artificial sweeteners. Well, they're known to be triggers. They have triggered different kinds of brain type of issues. There's been issues found, especially with like Splenda and the sucralose, with affecting the gut in certain ways. So those artificial sweeteners can be quite damaging too, typically to the neurological system. Smoothies, you know, smoothies are quite popular for people who are trying to be healthy, but really it's a fast food, and there can be up to 60 grams of sugar in a typical smoothie. That's not to mention the, you know, frappuccinos and all kinds of different things that you get, lattes that you can get from Starbucks, for example, and those are just loaded with grams and grams and grams of sugar. Just very, very damaging to the body. Speaking of headaches, migraine triggers. Well, do you know, like in breakfast sausage links, those are still, even to this day, even though now it's becoming common knowledge, those are loaded with monosodium glutamate. Otherwise, they taste so terrible you wouldn't even want to finish it, half a bite on your plate. They're that awful. So they load it with monosodium glutamate to basically trick your brain into thinking that it tastes good. And at the same time, that's a well-known migraine trigger. But it doesn't stop there. That's just one of the many chemicals that they put in these types of processed meats and processed foods that you get at fast food restaurants. And of course, fake dyes and preservatives. Going back to the meats that I first talked about, you might remember a year or two, maybe 3 years ago, that hitting Facebook and even I think some news broadcasts about how there was a McDonald's hamburger left and it just stayed perfectly fine months and months and months on end. The bun, the meat, all of it. If I remember correctly, even the lettuce didn't wilt. So how's that possible? Because it's loaded with preservatives. Can you imagine? And if it doesn't break down just through the standard oxidation of the environment, how do you think your body can break it down? How do you think your body can metabolize it? It cannot. So imagine it doesn't just pass through you. Your body can't metabolize it, so it ends up in your excrement. No, that isn't what happens. It damages your body all the way until it stops and usually doesn't come out properly. That can be one of the main reasons that people develop things such as leaky gut, which is a permeable gut lining. So, how about blue raspberries? You ever see those blue raspberries? Well, it's not natural for raspberries to be blue. So you absolutely can be certain that things like that have horrible dyes. Just don't use those things. They're going to damage your body. What about Yellow Lake 40? What the heck is Yellow Lake? I've never seen. Would you want to go swimming in a yellow lake? I don't even understand why they would want to name something that. Dr. Feingold years ago, before it was even termed ADD and ADHD, he was developing a diet to help children deal with this hyperactivity, and maybe more so help the parents deal with their children's hyperactivity. And one of the main things was to avoid these artificial sweeteners. And that was years and years and years and years ago. Like I said, before ADD and ADHD was even a known terminology. So my point is that it's been known for a long time that these food dyes, these preservatives, really create damaging effects, detrimental effects within the body. And in fact, something very interesting, let me go ahead and go here for 1 second. So you're going to see my screen and you're going to see this here. Just look at this. I think this was 3 days ago, October the 6th. You see this news article on your screen. It says FDA bans use of 7 synthetic food additives after environmental groups sue. So think about that. After these environmental groups had to spend money in order to sue, the FDA says, okay, fine. We don't want to spend money on it, so we'll just ban these 7 synthetic food additives. And they've been in these foods all along for decades, literally. But now they're banned because they've been sued. So that was, looks like an NPR news article just 3 days ago. So it shows you that this battle to have safe, healthy foods is an ongoing one, and it will continue to be because the food manufacturers have lots and lots of money. They want to keep that money, and so they will line the pockets through lobbyists, typically with whatever government agency that they need to do it. I already mentioned somewhat the eighth side effect, I should say, of these fast foods, and that is inflammatory oils. So, polyunsaturated fats. Well, those are supposed to be wonderful fats, right? And they could be, but not when they are superheated. That basically creates a caramelized effect. As I said earlier, it creates an extreme, I cannot emphasize how oxidizing these fats become. And oxidized fats, when they enter the body, immediately they start an inflammatory process. Well, what's wrong with that? It's been found repeatedly that all chronic diseases, and especially the top few that are killing all the Americans, which is heart disease and cancers, etc., what precedes all of those are, guess what? Inflammation. So if you want to have as much health as you can, avoid these degenerative diseases, which are not part of aging, they're degenerative diseases, then I highly advise you to, as much as possible, avoid these inflammatory, superheated, oxidized, polyunsaturated fats, which really occur in anything. They have a dramatic aging effect to the body, even in children. So think about that. You can have a 2-year-old, but they've been brought up on fast food for the past 2 years, and they may have the liver of someone who's 30 because of the oxidizing effects within those liver cells. It's really a horrible situation. And that brings us to the 9th side effect. And that is actually something, even if you don't eat fast foods, that still affects you. Can you imagine a side effect, even if you don't partake of the food, that still affects you? That's how bad eating these fast foods are. Are you a person that is interested in bringing as much benefit and as much care and concern to our planet Earth as possible, who's concerned about the environmental impact that you may have or that others may have? Well, if you eat fast food, then you need to be aware that you are actually participating in environmental destruction. Well, what the heck do I mean about that? Well, just the plastics alone that are part of these fast food meals are creating a gigantic global impact. In fact, have you heard of the Great Pacific Patch of garbage? It's a Great Pacific garbage patch. Well, once again, let me direct your attention to an article. This is from CNN. Oop. No, thank you, CNN. I don't want to know that. Here we go. The Great Pacific Garbage Patch. Now, 3 times the size of France. Can you imagine that? Further down the article, and this is March the 23rd, 2018, so it's a fairly recent article. Further down the article, as you read it, you'll see that it's twice the size of Texas. And you know how everything's huge in Texas, right? Well, that garbage patch is bigger, twice the size of Texas. And most of it is, they talk about even nanoparticle plastics. So that is just absolutely incredible. And certainly eating fast food is one of the causes of that. Now, what about, at least indirectly, what about a direct cause? What about a direct cause of consuming fast foods that leads to the destruction of the environment of the earth? Well, what could that be? Well, what about something called monocrop agriculture? You say, what's that? I've never heard of that. Well, that's actually how all the grains and the wheat and the corn and the different things that are used in the buns and really in pizza crusts and cookies and all these different types of things, cinnamon rolls, whatever it might be, donuts. That's how the grains that are used in these products are farmed. Monocrop agriculture. And that style of farming, which I'll explain what that is in just a moment, that style of farming is known to be incredibly destructive to the environment and to the soil. In fact, that's what's led to the idea of genetically modified organisms is due to this monocrop agriculture. So once again, let me go ahead and direct your attention to Wikipedia this time, monocropping, and right down here in the third paragraph here, it says monocropping is also controversial as, listen to this, as it damages the soil ecology, including depletion or reduction in diversity of soil nutrients. Now, let me just flip back here for a second. Let me ask you a question. So, if the crops that you're consuming, breads and so forth, even if it's whole grain or rice, brown rice or jasmine rice or wonderful rice or whatever, if the soil that these grains are growing out of are depleted of nutrients, what does that mean about the grains and the breads and the donuts and the rolls and the buns that you're consuming? What does it mean? It means that they are also depleted of nutrients, because that is the only source that those grains could possibly get nutrients is through the soil. If the soil doesn't have it, then what you're consuming doesn't have it, and if what you're consuming doesn't have it, you don't have it. So therefore, you're nutritionally deficient, which is another cause, known cause of disease, degenerative disease. Back to the Wikipedia for a moment. Here we are. Okay, and provides an unbuffered niche for parasitic species. Wow, that sounds wonderful, doesn't it? Which is where the genetically modified organisms come in. Increasing crop vulnerability to opportunistic insects, plants, and microorganisms. The result is a more fragile, you think so? Yeah, maybe, a little more fragile ecosystem with an increased dependency on, hey, pesticides and artificial fertilizers. Well, that just sounds great, doesn't it? So, as if it's not bad enough that you're getting horribly nutrient-depleted foods that you're feeding your body, you're also, coupled with that, as part of an ingredient, the fantastic recipe for fast food, you're also getting ultra-high levels of fertilizers and pesticides. That's obviously going to be good for your body, right? Which is why Monsanto had to pay $280 million settlement recently about glyphosate, their Roundup, okay? Which they claimed for decades that didn't cause cancer, and it does. And you're consuming that every time you have a fast food meal. So that's obviously going to be great for your body. So if no other reason, if you don't care about your body enough to change your eating habits, then care about the planet enough. Care about what kind of world, if things continue in the same way, that your children are going to inherit, or their children, or your great-great-grandchildren. Because at some point, it's going to impact us to a degree that we just can't get away from the side effects of the environmental destruction. There's no doubt about that. So even if you're not concerned about the effects to your body, it is eventually going to affect your children or your children's children to the point that it's going to be catastrophic, potentially. So before I conclude, one thing that I wanted to point out is the three main ways. You know, we talked about these side effects, but there's three main areas that fast foods tend to damage, tend to affect. The first one is actually blood sugar, because they're full of carbohydrates, they're full of sugars, and that creates insulin surges and cortisol. That's going to affect serotonin levels and different hormones, including reproductive hormones. It's going to make you get fat. It's going to give you brain fog. It's going to create, eventually, cardiovascular issues. It's going to create brain issues. It's going to create diabetes and insulin resistance and all types of issues. What is one of the top 4 degenerative diseases in the United States? Diabetes, definitely one of them. Second area I already mentioned to some degree is the brain. Again, for the same reason, as it stimulates these blood sugar levels, and one thing that the brain absolutely has to have is stable glucose in order to function well. Anytime you get a glucose surge and then you get a drop, that drop actually kills neurons, which science says neurons don't regenerate, so you've lost a certain amount of brain cells that are never coming back. And that could certainly, potentially, if you think about it, lead to the different brain diseases and neurological disorders that we're seeing today. And then the third top way that fast food destroys your body is through the gut. You know, the average fast food meal has at least 100 different ingredients. That's preservatives and all the chemical additives and everything that's in there. At least 100. How many, could you count on your fingers, are actually real food? And what do all those other dozens and dozens of chemicals do to your digestive system, to your gut? It's simple. It destroys it. Leads to leaky gut. Leaky gut can very often lead to autoimmune diseases, all kinds of other issues within the body. So those are the top 3 ways that fast food destroys and damages your body. Okay, so let me just run over to our website here. I was having technical difficulties, so I hope people are able to, there we are. Okay, so if anyone, hello there, Irma. Thank you, Sylvia. Hello, Sharon. What else? Okay, so if there's no other questions, then let me ask you a question. Are you interested in addressing and reversing chronic issues that you may have through using food as medicine? Well, if you are, then I invite you to an initial consultation. That is the entire point of an initial consultation, is to identify if we can help you through a customized health improvement, total health restoration program using food as medicine to reverse the effects of the health challenges that you may be facing. Now, usually an initial consultation is $249. That's regular price. If you referred to us through one of our patients, then we knock $100 off of that, so that's $149. But if you respond to the offer that I'm going to post as soon as this presentation is over, if you respond by the expiration date that's there, and you use the special code to schedule your appointment online within that time frame, then you can get an initial consultation for only $62. So that's $187 savings to find out if we can help you. You can finally get relief, find the hope that you're seeking, and the answers that you need in order to reverse your health situation using food as medicine. And again, I'm going to post that right after this presentation, so we'll be looking for that. All right, I'm going to look one more time, see if there's any questions. All right. So very good. Hope you enjoyed the information, and stay tuned for our next free Facebook live stream. If you would like to get notified when we're going to go live and have these different Facebook live health classes, then the easiest way, you can use your cell phone, is to text to 33222. That's 33222 FB. So that's an F and a B live, L-I-V-E, and you'll get signed up so that you'll be notified as soon as we're going to go live, and you might get a notification a few hours beforehand of what the class is about, and then the moment that we go live, you'll be notified through text that we're live, and you'll be able to just tap right on that link and go to the Facebook live stream. So if you'd like to do that, again, that's 33222 FB live, and you'll get all fixed up with that. All right, so have a great evening. Enjoyed speaking with you today.